The sky over the human colony world turned dark, even though the sun was still high. Huge alien ships moved slowly through the clouds, blocking the light. People stopped in the streets and looked up. Some dropped their bags. Some ran. Some only stood still, unable to move. The alien empire had arrived. The world was called Haven. It was not old, but it was home. Humans had built cities, farms, and ports across wide plains and near calm seas. Life had been hard but steady. No one believed the alien empire would come here first. Haven had no great weapons and no strong fleet in space. The alien ships did not fire at once. They waited. That made the fear worse. In the main city, leaders gathered inside a deep command hall under layers of rock and metal. Screens showed the alien fleet from many angles. The ships were smooth and sharp, with glowing lines along their sides. They looked clean and perfect, like machines that never failed. A quiet alarm sounded. A message arrived from the alien fleet. The message was short and clear. Surrender. Powered down all defenses. Open all cities. This world now belongs to the Empire. No threat was needed. Everyone knew the Empire. Other worlds had fallen fast. Some were burned, some were taken and stripped. Some vanished without a word. A human officer named Mark stood near the back of the room. He was not high-ranked, but he had seen many reports. He watched the faces of the leaders. Fear was there, but also something else. Focus. They will land soon, one leader said. They want a show.
Mark knew what that meant.
The Empire liked to show its power. They wanted worlds to fall before the first shot. Soon the ground began to shake. Outside the city, far beyond the walls, the air bent and shimmered. Shapes appeared above the plains. Large shapes. Heavy shapes that did not touch the ground. Alien anti-gravity tanks moved forward like silent monsters. They floated several meters above the earth. Their bodies were wide and dark, covered in thick armor. Long cannons pointed forward, glowing with energy. Smaller weapons turned on their sides, tracking movement. The tanks moved with ease. Hills meant nothing. Rivers did not slow them. They passed over forests without breaking a branch. Cameras across the world showed the same image. Anti-gravity tanks in long lines, moving toward every major city. In one small town, a farmer named Eli watched from his roof. He had never seen anything like it. The tanks did not make sound, but the air around them felt heavy. His chest hurt as if the world itself was pressing down. "They are flying tanks," he whispered. People said the Empire had mastered gravity long ago. They no longer touched the ground unless they wanted to. Human defense forces rolled out to meet them. Old tanks, ground vehicles, missile trucks, everything humans had. The difference was clear at once. Human weapons fired. Missiles flew. Shells burst. Explosions filled the air. The alien tanks did not stop. Shots bent away. Missiles lost control and spun into the ground. Energy shields flared for a moment, then went quiet again. The alien tanks kept moving. Alien commanders watched from their flagship above the planet. One of them, a tall figure with dark eyes, felt no worry. "Primitive resistance," the commander said calmly. "They do not understand what we bring."
They still cling to the ground. The Empire decided to move closer. They wanted the humans to see defeat with their own eyes.
Near the capital city, a human defense line waited. Soldiers stood behind barriers. Vehicles were ready. Fear ran through them like cold water, but no one ran. Then the order came. Fall back. Vehicles turned. Soldiers moved fast but calm. They did not fire again. The alien tanks advanced, unchallenged. The alien commanders were pleased. This was how it always went. First fear, then retreat, then surrender. Inside the human command hall, Mark watched new data appear on the screens. The retreat was planned. Every move was planned. A leader spoke in a low voice. Phase 1 is complete. Phase 1 meant delay, nothing more. Deep under the surface of Haven, far below the cities and the fear, machines woke from sleep. Lights turned on in long underground halls. Heavy doors opened. Thick cables hummed with power. Engineers moved quickly. Their faces were calm, but their eyes were sharp. They checked readings and spoke in short words. Core stable, limits holding. Anchor units online. At the center of the underground complex stood a machine unlike any other. It was massive and solid. No smooth lines. No floating parts. It rested on the ground with full weight, pressing deep into reinforced stone. It did not glow. It did not hum loudly. It waited. A woman named Lena stood near the control platform. She had worked on this project for many years. Few people knew about it. Fewer still believed it would ever be used. She looked at the numbers on her screen. Gravity values, stress levels, planetary limits. We only get one chance, she said quietly. Above ground, the alien tanks reached the edge of the capital city. Buildings shook as the tanks passed overhead. Shadows covered the streets. The alien commander sent another message. You have seen our power. This is your final moment to surrender. The message was broadcast to every screen on the planet. For a long moment, there was no answer. People held their breath. Then, a human signal went out. It was not loud. It was not angry. This world is not empty, the message said, and it is not weak. This was unexpected. On the plains outside the city, something new appeared. A human vehicle rolled forward. It was large and slow. Its armor was thick and plain. It moved on wide tracks that crushed the ground beneath it. It did not float. It did not shine. The alien tanks turned their weapons toward it at once. The alien commander laughed softly. They'd bring a ground machine against anti-gravity units. Weapons charged. The human vehicle kept moving. Inside it, Mark stood with a small crew. He could feel the weight of the machine through his boots. It felt real, solid. Safe. Ready? A voice said. Hold, Mark replied. Energy beams streaked through the air, but something strange happened. The beams bent. Not much, but enough. They slid past the human vehicle and struck the ground behind it. The alien commanders leaned forward. Fire again, one said. More shots. The same result. The human vehicle stopped. A deep sound rolled across the plains. Not loud, but powerful. The ground began to shake. Dust lifted into the air. Gravity changed. One alien tank dipped slightly, then another. Their systems tried to adjust, but the force grew stronger. The first tank slammed into the ground with a sound like thunder. Armor cracked. The anti-gravity field failed. Alien soldiers shouted in shock. Inside the human command hall, Lena watched the readings spike.
It is working, she said, but her smile did not last long.
The numbers kept rising. Above the planet, the alien flagship felt a pull. Just a small one, but enough to matter. The alien commander stood in silence. For the first time in many wars, doubt entered his mind. Below, on the surface of Haven, humans watched as the impossible happened. The alien empire, masters of floating worlds, was being pulled down. And this was only the beginning. The alien tanks had never been challenged like this before. They hovered above the plains, their smooth, dark bodies glowing faintly under the sun. Soldiers inside the tanks gripped controls, their faces pale. Energy beams bent away. Cannons failed to hit their target. The humans on the ground looked small, fragile, and impossible to stop. Yet the first few alien tanks lay twisted and broken on the earth. The human vehicle moved slowly across the open field. Its treads crushed dirt and rock beneath it. Dust rose in clouds. Marks of old battles were etched into its armor, but it had survived every test. The crew inside was calm, though their hands were busy with controls. Mark sat at the center, scanning every movement of the enemy tanks. He spoke to the others with simple words, steady and firm. "Keep it steady. Wait for the moment." The moment came almost instantly. The ground trembled under the weight of something unseen. The alien tanks wobbled. One tilted forward, then back. The energy fields flickered and failed. The humans on the vehicle pressed buttons, adjusting something below the ground. The earth under the alien machines became heavier, pressing them downward like invisible hands. One alien tank panicked. It tried to lift higher, but the ground seemed to pull harder. A loud crack echoed as its anti-gravity systems overloaded. It toppled, hitting another tank. The collision was loud, metal against metal, echoing across the valley. Alien soldiers inside screamed and shouted orders, but their commands were useless. The alien commanders high above on their flagship could not believe what they were seeing. Their perfect weapons, the ones that crushed countless planets, were failing against humans on the ground. One officer slammed a fist against the control panel. "Impossible," he said. "They are only primitive. How can this be?" Another officer frowned, his dark eyes sharp. "We underestimated them. They are not simple creatures. They have studied gravity. They know it. They use it." The humans on the vehicle moved slowly, deliberately. They did not rush. Their machine was heavy, slow, and solid. Each movement seemed measured, but it carried enormous force. Behind them, the ground shifted constantly, small tremors that grew larger with every minute. The alien tanks had no choice. They either fight this unknown force or be crushed. On the plains, soldiers outside the tanks tried to escape. They ran across the dirt, but the invisible force pressed them down. Some fell. Some rolled as the ground buckled under the human machine's power. Panic spread quickly among the alien ranks. The calm, perfect army had no plan for this. Mark spoke into the communicator. "Activate Phase 2. Slowly. Let them feel it." The vehicle's treads rumbled deeper now, and the ground itself seemed to respond. Alien tanks started losing their balance. Weapons fired, but the shots went off in random directions. Energy shields flared and then failed. One tank tried to lift higher into the air. It floated for a moment and then dropped violently, sending a cloud of dust and stone skyward. Humans watching from behind barricades and walls felt hope. Soldiers who had feared the alien fleet now raised their heads. Engineers who had labored underground smiled quietly. The humans had something the aliens could not understand: patience, courage, and clever use of the planet itself. The alien commander sent orders to concentrate fire. Anti-gravity beams flared at once, trying to lift multiple tanks simultaneously. Sparks and cracks appeared as machines tried to fight the invisible pull. Some succeeded for seconds before failing again. The humans did not panic. They moved with precision, their vehicle adjusting pressure, weight, and timing with careful control. In the city nearby, civilians peered from windows and rooftops. Families whispered to each other. "They can win?" one asked. "They are only one vehicle." Another shook her head but did not turn away. Dust and smoke filled the air, but humans were alive. The alien tanks were falling, one after another. The alien soldiers became reckless. Some fired wildly, some abandoned their vehicles, and some attempted to run across the plains. The humans had anticipated this. The machine's field did not just target tanks. It pressed down on the earth everywhere. Alien soldiers stumbled. Some were lifted only a few centimeters by the tank's weak anti-gravity shields, then slammed down. In the control room under the city, Lena adjusted settings rapidly. Her fingers flew across consoles. "Keep it constant. Do not stop." She spoke quietly but firmly. Engineers around her nodded. They knew what could happen if the field failed. The ground under the humans could collapse too. They had designed safety measures, but the pressure was extreme. Above, the alien flagship rocked slightly. The gravitational pull extended upward, affecting ships in orbit. Crew members on the bridge looked worried. Messages came in from other tanks, all reporting failure. The flagship commander tried to stay calm, but beads of sweat ran down his face. He had never faced such resistance. His fleet was perfect, controlled, and advanced, yet humans on the ground were turning the battlefield into a trap. One of the alien tanks tried a desperate move. It shot forward, energy shields flaring. It struck the human vehicle's side. Sparks flew. Dust rose. The human machine trembled slightly but did not fall. The crew inside felt the impact, but they continued calmly. Mark spoke to the others. "Hold your positions. Let them crash." The tank rolled forward on its treads, shaking the ground further. The alien tanks around it panicked. One after another they collided. Some tried to flee, only to be dragged down by invisible force. The battle was not loud, but the sound of metal breaking and earth cracking filled the air. Alien commanders realized the humans had something no one had before, not just technology, but understanding. They studied gravity, something the aliens treated as a tool to escape. Humans treated it as a weapon. They could bend it, focus it, and use it to control the battlefield. On the ground, civilians and soldiers alike began cheering quietly. The alien tanks, once symbols of terror, were no longer unstoppable. People watched as one massive tank tried to rise, struggled, and then crashed into a smaller one. Both exploded in dust and sparks. The flagship commander barked orders, but they came too late. The anti-gravity systems could not handle the pull. Tanks tipped over, energy shields flickered, and soldiers were trapped. Some surrendered immediately, too stunned to fight. Others attempted to flee, only to be stopped by the pressure of the ground beneath them. Mark guided the vehicle forward. He could feel the power of the machine beneath him. The treads pressed into the dirt, and the earth responded. Rocks cracked, small hills shifted, and dust clouds rose. Every movement was deliberate, every pressure point calculated. Humans were not trying to kill everything. They were trying to prove control. The alien soldiers in retreat were pushed back further. Some tried to regroup, but the human vehicle forced them apart. Lines of tanks were broken. Communication between units was lost. Panic spread. The Empire, once confident and calm, now faced confusion and fear. In the command room below, Lena's voice was steady. "We can hold it. Just a little longer. Engineers nodded, adjusting machinery. Power flowed through underground anchors, linking to the vehicle above. Every movement of the human machine sent pulses through the planet. The aliens could not detect the source. To them, it seemed like the world itself had turned against them. The flagship commander realized one truth. The humans were not just fighting with machines. They were fighting with the planet. They were using their home as a weapon. And nothing the Empire had could counter that. Alien tanks continued to fall. Soldiers tried to lift them with emergency systems. Some succeeded briefly, only to crash again moments later. Chaos spread among the troops. Orders were shouted, ignored, or impossible to execute. Every move was anticipated. Every escape was blocked. Civilians outside the city saw something they had never believed possible. The humans were winning. Slowly, carefully, but winning. Dust and smoke filled the air, but victory felt close. Children watched from hiding places. Elderly citizens whispered prayers. Even the bravest alien soldiers began to understand. This fight was not just about weapons. It was about intelligence, courage, and knowing the ground they stood on. The human vehicle pressed forward. High. Marks of earth shifted, hills cracked, and dust clouds rolled across the battlefield. The alien tanks could no longer advance. Their movement was clumsy, heavy, and slow. One by one, they fell. Some surrendered. Some exploded when their controls failed. Above, the alien flagship shook slightly. Crew members could see the battlefield below. The perfect army of anti-gravity tanks which had crushed countless worlds was broken, and it had been broken by one human machine, controlled by one team, using nothing but understanding and patience.
Mark looked forward. He saw the remaining alien tanks wobbling, confused and trapped.
His crew followed every instruction. Calm and precise, they moved slowly, carefully. One wrong move could end everything, but the aliens were already in chaos. The first human cheers rang out from the capital city. Soldiers and civilians together raised voices in triumph. The humans had not only stopped the Empire's advance, they had shown them something new, something the aliens could not match. Lena watched the readings spike higher. The machine, the ground, and the humans worked as one. They had done what many believed impossible, and she knew this was only the beginning. The alien commander on the flagship clenched his fists. He had never lost so quickly, never faced a force he could not predict, and now he had to wonder if this world, these humans, could be the spark of something even greater. On the plains of Haven, the first human victory was clear. The alien tanks had been slowed, crushed, and confused. The battle was far from over, but the humans had proven one undeniable truth. They understood their world, and the world itself could fight for them. Mark looked at the horizon. More tanks were coming, more challenges were ahead. But for the first time, humans on Haven believed they could win. And the Empire, powerful and perfect as it was, had learned that humans were never simple, never weak, and never to be underestimated. The dust rose into the sky, and the humans moved forward, ready to show the aliens that their strength came not from floating machines, but from the earth beneath their feet. The battle had only begun, and the aliens would soon see that they were facing something far greater than they expected. The battlefield was quiet now, except for the low rumble of the human vehicle moving across the plains. Dust and smoke hung in the air, swirling around the fallen alien tanks. Soldiers and civilians alike watched in awe. The humans had stopped the Empire's advance. The alien forces had never expected to face this kind of resistance. Above, in the alien flagship, the commanders were furious. They had faced many worlds, many armies, but never had one human machine cause so much chaos. Reports from the ground came in, and each one told the same story. Tanks toppled, soldiers trapped. Weapons useless. The Empire's perfect weapons were failing before a single human machine. One officer slammed a fist on the table. How is this possible? They are primitive. They cannot understand gravity like we do. Another officer frowned. They do understand it. They are not running from it. They are using it. They are using the planet itself as a weapon. The flagship shook slightly. The gravitational pull from the planet's surface extended upward, affecting ships in orbit. Crew members gripped consoles to keep steady. The humans were not just fighting on the ground. Their technology was changing the battlefield, bending the rules the Empire had relied on for centuries. On the ground, Mark guided the human vehicle carefully. The treads crushed the earth beneath them, sending tremors across the plains. Each step was deliberate. The alien tanks still tried to rise, to float above the earth and regain control, but the ground itself pushed back. Some tanks tipped over. Others crashed into one another in confusion. "Keep it steady," Mark said to his crew.
"We cannot rush. One wrong move, and it could fail."
The humans were not fast. They were not flashy.
But every movement had purpose. Every pressure point on the ground was measured. Gravity itself became their weapon. They did not need to fire constantly. They only needed to make the alien tanks touch the earth, and then the earth would fight for them. Alien soldiers tried to flee. Some abandoned their tanks and ran across the plains, but the invisible force beneath the ground pulled at them. Their steps faltered. Some were lifted slightly, then slammed down as the human vehicle shifted. Others ran into obstacles that were not there moments before. The battlefield itself had become unpredictable, controlled by humans. Inside the human command center below the city, Lena watched monitors and readings. Engineers adjusted energy flows, stabilizing the system that controlled gravity across the area. "Core stable," one engineer reported.
The anchors are holding. Good, Lena said. Keep monitoring.
"We cannot let it fail now. The humans were risking everything."
If the system failed, the entire area could collapse. Buildings could fall. The vehicle itself could be destroyed. But so far, everything held. The alien tanks were falling one by one. Their advanced technology could not match human ingenuity combined with the planet's force. The alien commander tried a new tactic. Tanks floated higher, above the reach of the human machine. Energy beams flared, aimed at the human vehicle. They fired in volleys, trying to break through shields. Sparks flew and dust rose, but the beams bent strangely in midair, missing their target. "What is happening?" an alien officer shouted. "Why do their shields not fail? Why do our weapons bend?" "It is not the shields. It is the ground. They controlled the planet. They make it fight for them." On the plains, the human vehicle moved forward. One side of its armor had been scratched by energy fire, but it held firm. Inside, the crew remained calm. They knew what to do. They adjusted weight, pressure, and movement. The earth trembled as if alive. Alien tanks tried to lift higher. Some succeeded briefly, floating above the earth. But the human vehicle was ready. It shifted its weight slightly, and the ground beneath rose unevenly. The floating tanks wobbled, lost balance, and then crashed down hard. Metal bent. Weapons broke. Soldiers inside shouted. Some tanks exploded when their systems failed completely. The humans had learned something the aliens had not. The Empire had used anti-gravity for centuries to escape the force of planets. Humans had stayed on the ground. They had learned gravity, studied it, and mastered it. They did not try to escape it. They used it. They bent it. They made the battlefield their own. Mark guided the vehicle slowly, but the effect was devastating. Alien tanks continued to fall. Some soldiers surrendered immediately, too stunned to fight. Others tried to flee, only to be caught by uneven ground and tremors. Every movement of the human machine shifted the battlefield. Every step was a trap. In one area, 2 alien tanks collided after attempting to lift over the human vehicle. The explosion sent debris flying across the plains. Dust and smoke filled the air. Civilians hiding behind buildings and walls peered out. They had never believed humans could do this. They had never imagined the Empire could be stopped so quickly. The alien flagships sent messages to remaining tanks, but many had already failed. Orders were ignored or impossible to carry out. Chaos spread. The Empire's perfect army was collapsing under a force they could not understand. Inside the human command center, Lena adjusted settings again.
"We can keep it stable," she said. "Just a little longer."
"We control this now," crew nodded, focused on the readings. They knew the stakes. If the system failed, the battlefield could turn against them. If it held, they could prove something no one had ever seen. The human vehicle pressed forward. The ground shifted, hills cracked, and dust clouds rolled. Every movement broke alien formations. Tanks that had seemed invincible were now trapped, crushed, or destroyed. The Empire had faced other worlds before, but never one that fought with the planet itself. Alien commanders grew desperate. They tried to organize a counterattack. Ships in orbit fired energy beams to lift the tanks, but the effect was minimal. The gravitational field controlled by humans was too strong. Tanks fell. Soldiers surrendered. Chaos spread faster than the Empire could manage. On the plains, Mark guided the vehicle past the last standing line of alien tanks. Each step was slow, careful, and precise. Soldiers inside the remaining tanks tried to regroup, but the human machine anticipated every move. Some tanks tipped over when they tried to lift. Others fired wildly, missing every target. Civilians watching from the city cheered quietly. Soldiers who had feared the Empire now raised their heads with hope. The humans had done what many had believed impossible. One machine, controlled by one crew, had turned the tide of the battle. Lena's voice came through the communicator. "They are trapped. One last push, and we hold the field." The vehicle adjusted weight slightly. The ground responded. The remaining alien tanks toppled, crashed, or surrendered. Dust and smoke filled the air, but victory was clear. Above, the alien flagship shook. Crew members could see the battlefield below. Their perfect army was broken. Tanks that had crushed entire worlds were now defeated by humans on one planet. The commanders had never faced resistance like this. They realized they had underestimated humans completely. The human vehicle moved slowly across the battlefield. Survivors among the alien soldiers were captured. Some ran and were brought down by the uneven earth. Others surrendered quietly, unable to believe what had happened. Mark looked at the horizon. More alien ships remained in orbit. More challenges would come. But the humans had proven something vital. They understood their world. They could fight with it. And they could win. The dust rose into the sky, and the humans pressed forward. The battlefield belonged to them now. The Empire had learned that humans were clever, patient, and strong. Machines could be advanced, weapons could be perfect, but the understanding of the Earth itself was unstoppable. The humans on Haven had won the first real victory against the Empire. They had shown that technology alone could not conquer courage, intelligence, and knowledge. The battle was far from over, but the humans had set the tone. The aliens would never underestimate them again, and Mark, Lena, and the crew knew this was only the beginning. They had used the planet to fight, and the Empire would remember this lesson for the rest of their lives. The humans had turned the battlefield into their weapon, and nothing the Empire could do would erase the truth of this victory. The battlefield was quiet for a moment, but the humans knew it was only a pause. Alien ships still hovered in orbit, and distant fleets could appear at any moment. The plains were littered with broken tanks and scorched earth. Smoke rose in slow columns, twisting in the wind. Civilians slowly came out from hiding, watching the strange victory unfold. They whispered to each other, unable to fully believe what they were seeing. Mark guided the human vehicle across the uneven ground, its treads leaving deep impressions in the soil. Every movement was careful. Every step had purpose. They were not just moving forward, they were preparing for what the aliens might do next. Gravity had been their weapon, and now they were ready to use it in ways the enemy could not predict. Above, the alien flagship shook in orbit. The commander's face was pale. Reports had come in from tanks that had survived the collapse. Communications were broken. Sensors were confused. Ships in orbit were being pulled slightly off course by the uneven gravity below. The alien commander banged a fist against the control panel. "Prepare the orbital strike," he ordered. "If we cannot win on the ground, we will burn the world from above. Flatten it completely." The officers on the bridge looked at each other nervously. They knew the humans had already controlled gravity on the surface, pulling down tanks, shifting Earth, making the battlefield their own. If the humans could do that to the planes, what would happen if they extended the control even further? On the surface, Lena monitored readings in the command center below the city. Energy flows ran through the anchors that spread across the planet. The system was stable for now, but the strain was growing. Temperatures rose in the control rooms. Power cores hummed loudly, vibrating through the walls.
"They are planning something from above," she said. Her voice was calm but tense.
"We need to prepare. Adjust the anchors.
Increase stabilization by 10%. Engineers worked quickly, moving across the control platform. Monitors blinked with numbers. Graphs showed gravity fluctuations. They adjusted the field carefully, making sure it remained strong, but not so strong that it would fracture the Earth itself. Mark received a report from the scouts. Alien dropships were descending from orbit. Energy weapons glowed in the clouds above. The humans could feel the pull of the approaching fire. This was not a simple attack. It was meant to wipe out everything on the surface in one strike. He spoke to Lena through the communicator.
"We can handle it. Are the anchors ready?"
"We can extend the field, but be careful. If it fails, we lose everything." The humans on the ground watched as the alien dropships began their descent. They were massive, long, and armored, carrying troops and weapons designed to crush any resistance. Soldiers on the surface braced themselves, taking cover behind ruined tanks and debris. Then the humans activated the planetary anchors fully. Energy flowed through every point connected to the vehicle. The ground shifted slightly, and a low vibration ran through the plains. Dust clouds rose. The alien dropships wobbled in the sky. Their sensors struggled to maintain balance. One dropship tried to adjust its orbit. It rose slightly, and Then the field shifted. Gravity pulled it downward. Alarms blared on the alien ships. They tried to fire their energy weapons, but the targeting systems went haywire. Beams missed the ground entirely, striking empty air or even their own ships. On the plains, the humans moved strategically. Their vehicle adjusted weight and position, controlling the gravity field around it. Every movement was subtle but deadly. Alien soldiers fell from their ships, unable to resist the gravitational pull. Some were trapped against the ground, unable to move. Others tumbled across the battlefield, hitting debris or each other. The alien commander's face turned red with anger. He had never faced resistance like this. Perfect weapons, advanced technology, elite soldiers, all failing before a human machine and the ground itself. "Increase fire," he shouted. "Destroy them before they can extend it further." But it was too late. The humans had already spread the field across a wide area. The dropships shook violently. Some lost control and crashed into the plains below. Metal twisted and tore. Explosions ripped through the air. Soldiers inside screamed. Dust and debris filled the sky. Inside the command center, Lena kept her eyes on the monitors. "Hold it," she said. "Do not let the field collapse. We control this now." Engineers adjusted power flows rapidly. Sparks flew from some of the consoles, but the system remained stable. Gravity pulsed in waves across the battlefield, pulling alien ships off course and forcing them down. Tanks on the surface that had survived the first battle now faced the same problem. They could float, but the gravity field kept them pinned, disrupted, and unable to fight effectively. Mark guided the human vehicle toward the edge of the battlefield. It was slow, deliberate, but every move caused tremors that shifted alien forces. Dropships crashed, tanks fell, soldiers surrendered. The humans had taken control not just of the ground, but of the air above it as well. The aliens tried one last desperate maneuver. A fleet of ships concentrated their fire. Energy beams aimed directly at the human vehicle. Sparks flared as the beams struck the shields. Dust and stone flew into the air. The crew inside the vehicle felt the vibration. "Hold steady," Mark said. "The anchors will do the rest." The beams bent, misfired, and some reflected back toward the ships themselves. Explosions erupted in orbit as the Empire's fleet suffered losses. Alien commanders shouted orders that could not be followed. Panic spread across the forces like wildfire. On the surface, humans cheered quietly. Soldiers from the first battle had regrouped. Civilians watched in awe. The impossible had happened again. The alien empire, masters of anti-gravity technology, was being defeated not just on the ground, but from orbit to the plains. Mark continued moving the vehicle carefully, one by one. Remaining dropships lost control, tilted, and crashed. Energy shields failed. Alien soldiers were trapped by gravity or thrown violently to the ground. The battlefield was theirs. The humans controlled every aspect of it. Inside the command center, Lena monitored every reading. The planetary anchors had worked perfectly. The energy flows were stable. The humans had achieved what no one thought possible. They had not just stopped the alien advance. They had taken control of the battle entirely. The alien commander on the flagship slammed a fist against the console. "This cannot be happening." "How can they control the planet itself?" Another officer looked pale. "They studied it. They know the ground. They know gravity. They use it as a weapon." The flagship shook slightly again. More dropships lost control and fell. The Empire's perfect fleet was failing before a single human machine and the planet beneath it. Mark guided the vehicle forward, slowly, carefully, ensuring no mistakes. The ground responded to every adjustment. Dust and debris swirled around alien wreckage. Soldiers surrendered. Tanks lay twisted and broken. The battlefield was under human control. The humans had proven something no one could ignore. The alien empire could bring technology, machines, and weapons to a world, but humans had something more powerful. They had patience, intelligence, courage, and the ability to use their world itself as a weapon. Civilians in the city cheered. Soldiers on the plains raised their weapons in triumph. Engineers in the command center breathed a little easier, knowing the system had held under extreme pressure. The alien commander stared at the battlefield, pale and silent. The humans had not just stopped the assault. They had turned it completely against the Empire. Every drop, every beam, every tank failure had been caused by human control, human planning, and human understanding of gravity. Mark looked at the horizon. More alien ships could arrive. More tanks could appear. The humans had to remain vigilant. But for the first time, they knew they could win. The plains of Haven were quiet again, except for the slow rumble of the human vehicle. Dust rose into the sky. Broken ships and tanks lay scattered across the battlefield. Soldiers and civilians alike saw the proof. Humans were not weak. They were clever, patient, and strong. And they had used their world itself to fight the alien empire. The humans had won this battle. They had shown the aliens that understanding, courage, and intelligence were weapons that could defeat even the most advanced machines. And the empire, powerful as it was, had learned a lesson it would not forget. The humans had turned the battlefield into their weapon. The aliens had tried to control the world with technology. The humans had controlled the world itself. And that made all the difference. The battlefield was filled with smoke and dust. Broken alien tanks lay scattered across the plains. Their once perfect armor was twisted, cracked, and burned. Alien soldiers struggled to stand. Some were trapped beneath fallen vehicles, while others staggered across the dirt, trying to regroup. The humans, however, remained calm. Their vehicle moved slowly but steadily, crushing the earth beneath its treads and keeping the alien forces off balance. Mark sat at the controls, watching every movement carefully. Every adjustment of the vehicle changed the battlefield. Every shift of weight made alien soldiers stumble or tanks tilt. He spoke calmly to his crew. "Keep it steady. Let them exhaust themselves." The alien commander in orbit was furious. His perfect fleet had been shattered. Drop ships and tanks had crashed. Soldiers had surrendered or been trapped by the humans' control of the battlefield. The Empire's reputation had been built on fear and absolute power, but that power had failed. "Send in the reinforcements," the commander shouted. "We cannot lose this world to primitives." But the reinforcements were too late. Even the new tanks that tried to float into the battlefield were pulled down by the human-controlled gravity fields. Dropships were pushed off course, forced to land in chaos or crash into one another. Alien soldiers shouted orders that could not be followed. Every attempt to regain control ended in disaster. Below the city, Lena monitored the system closely. The energy flows through the planetary anchors pulsed strongly. The readings showed small fluctuations, but the system remained stable. Engineers worked quickly, adjusting the field and monitoring stress levels. "We can keep this going," Lena said. "The planet is on our side." Mark guided the vehicle forward toward the largest cluster of alien tanks still attempting to fight. These tanks had survived the initial collapse, but they were struggling. Some tried to float higher, only to be pulled back down by the gravitational field. Others fired weapons, but their shots bent away or missed entirely. The battlefield had become unpredictable and deadly for the Empire. One alien tank fired directly at the human vehicle. Energy beams struck the armor. Sparks flew, and the vehicle shook, but it did not stop. The crew inside adjusted the weight of the vehicle, pressing the earth beneath them like a living shield. The ground rose slightly under the alien tank, and it toppled forward with a loud crash. The soldiers inside screamed as metal bent and broke. Across the battlefield, alien soldiers were giving up. Many surrendered immediately, dropping their weapons and raising their hands. Others tried to flee, only to be caught by uneven ground or the invisible pull of the human-controlled field. The humans did not need to chase them. The Earth itself did the work. The alien commander's face in orbit was pale and tense. His entire fleet had been thrown into chaos by one human vehicle and a system hidden deep underground. He had fought countless wars and conquered many worlds, but he had never seen such resistance. His soldiers were trapped, his tanks broken, and his dropships destroyed. For the first time, he felt fear. Mark and his crew pressed forward, moving carefully to avoid overloading the system. Each shift in the vehicle's weight caused tremors that disrupted the remaining alien tanks. The vehicle moved slowly, deliberately, but the effect was devastating. Alien machines tilted, collided, or fell apart. Soldiers struggled to maintain control, but the ground itself betrayed them. Lena watched the monitors closely. The system was under extreme strain, but the anchors were holding. The energy cores hummed, feeding power to the planetary field. "We can extend the field slightly," she said. "It will pull the remaining tanks down completely." The humans on the surface nodded. They moved the vehicle with precision, applying pressure exactly where it was needed. The largest cluster of alien tanks began to wobble. They lifted briefly, trying to escape the pull, but the human-controlled gravity was too strong. One by one, the tanks fell, crushing smaller units in their path. Explosions tore through the battlefield as metal collided and fuel ignited. Alien soldiers tried a last desperate maneuver. Some ran toward the edges of the battlefield, hoping to escape. Others attempted to lift tanks higher into the air, seeking freedom from the crushing force. But every movement was anticipated. Every escape route had been calculated by the humans using the vehicle and the planetary anchors. Soldiers fell, tanks tipped, and chaos spread across the plains. Civilians in the city watched from safe distances. They had witnessed the impossible. Humans, one small world, had defeated the Empire's perfect army using intelligence, patience, and understanding of the planet itself. Families whispered quietly, trying to comprehend the destruction and the power that had saved their home. In the command center, Lena monitored every detail. Engineers worked tirelessly to maintain the system. "Keep the power flowing," she instructed. "We control the battlefield now. Do not let it weaken." The hum of the energy cores filled the room, a constant reminder of the force that kept the humans alive and the aliens trapped. Above, the alien flagship tried to retreat. Ships adjusted their position, but the gravitational pull made it difficult. Some fell slightly out of orbit, and alarms blared as systems strained to compensate. The commander realized the humans had not just won on the ground. They had extended their control into space. The Empire had underestimated the humans, and it had cost them dearly. Mark moved the vehicle to the center of the battlefield. Alien tanks that had survived the initial assault were trapped around them, unable to lift or move effectively. Soldiers surrendered quietly, defeated by a force they could not see and could not understand. The humans had proven that patience, courage, and intelligence could overcome even the most advanced technology. The vehicle pressed forward slightly and the ground shifted in small waves. Alien machines tipped, collided, and fell apart. Soldiers were trapped or forced to surrender. The battlefield belonged to the humans now. Every movement of the vehicle reinforced their control. The earth itself had become their weapon. Civilians and soldiers alike cheered. The humans had not only survived, they had won. They had proven that intelligence, courage, and understanding could defeat technology and fear. The Empire, powerful and ruthless as it was, had been humbled by one human machine and the people who controlled it. The alien commander stared at the battlefield from orbit. His fleet was shattered. His tanks were destroyed or trapped. Soldiers were defeated. The humans had not only stopped the attack, they had reversed it completely. He realized that this world, these humans, were unlike any he had encountered before. They fought with more than weapons. They fought with knowledge, courage, and their planet itself. Mark looked across the plains, seeing the alien tanks broken and the soldiers surrendering. He knew the humans had achieved something incredible. They had not only defended their world, they had changed the way the alien empire saw humans forever. Lena watched the monitors, the readings stable but high. The system had held under extreme pressure. The humans had not only survived, they had controlled the battlefield entirely. Gravity had become their ally, their weapon, and their shield. On the plains, dust and smoke swirled around the broken machines. The sun reflected off twisted metal, and the air was filled with the sound of the wind moving through destroyed vehicles. Civilians stepped cautiously into the open, seeing the result of human ingenuity and courage. Soldiers stood tall, knowing they had been part of something extraordinary. The alien commander in orbit finally spoke, his voice quiet and tense. "They are not weak. They are strong. They are dangerous, and we have underestimated them." Mark guided the vehicle slowly back toward the city, careful not to overstrain the system. The ground beneath them had done most of the work, crushing enemy machines and controlling the battlefield. But the vehicle remained the key, precise and unyielding, a symbol of human skill and determination. Civilians and soldiers alike looked on in awe. They had witnessed the impossible. Humans had defeated the Empire's perfect machines, using intelligence, patience, and mastery of their world. They had shown that courage, understanding, and careful planning could overcome fear and technology. The battlefield was theirs. Dust rose in columns. Broken tanks and destroyed dropships lay scattered across the plains. Soldiers surrendered or retreated, knowing they could not win. The humans had proven themselves. The alien empire, with all its power and advanced technology, had been humbled. Mark and Lena shared a quiet look through the communicator. They had succeeded. The humans had defended their home, defeated the Empire, and shown the galaxy that one world, one people could stand against the most advanced force in the universe. The humans had not only won the battle, they had changed the course of the war. They had proven that intelligence, courage, and understanding could defeat the strongest weapons. And the Empire, powerful as it was, would never forget it. The plains of Haven were quiet again. Smoke and dust swirled in the air. Broken machines and abandoned weapons littered the battlefield. But the humans had survived. They had won. And the alien empire had learned a lesson it could never ignore. Humans were clever, patient, and strong. They fought with more than weapons. They fought with their world itself. The humans had turned the battlefield into their weapon, and the aliens had learned that no technology, no matter how advanced, could match the courage, intelligence, and determination of a people defending their home. The victory on Haven was complete, but Mark, Lena, and the human forces knew it was only the beginning. The galaxy had seen humans fight and the Empire had learned that one small world could not be taken lightly. The humans had won today, but the war for respect and survival in the stars had only just begun. The battlefield was silent now. Smoke rose in thin columns from the broken alien tanks scattered across the plains of Haven. Dust drifted in the wind, carrying the faint smell of burning metal and scorched earth. Civilians slowly stepped out from hiding, looking around in disbelief. They whispered to each other, unable to fully understand what had happened. Their home had been saved, not by numbers or advanced machines, but by intelligence, courage, and the bond humans had with their planet. Mark guided the human vehicle carefully across the plains. Its treads pressed deep into the soil, leaving wide tracks behind. The ground had done much of the work, crushing enemy machines and destabilizing alien soldiers, but the vehicle remained the symbol of human control and ingenuity. The crew inside moved calmly, checking instruments and monitoring the gravitational field. Every adjustment mattered, and every decision had been precise from the very start. Lena monitored the system from the command center below the city. Energy cores hummed, stabilizing the planetary anchors that had controlled the battlefield. Engineers moved quickly, adjusting flows, making sure the field remained steady. It had been a delicate balance between power and safety, and so far, it had held. "Hold the field steady," Lena said quietly. "The aliens are still out there, and we must be ready." Mark nodded through the communicator. The vehicle pressed forward, careful not to overstrain the system. Every movement sent small tremors through the planes, ensuring that the remaining alien forces could not regroup. Soldiers who had survived the first battle were either trapped by uneven ground or surrendering quietly, too stunned to resist. Above, the alien flagship hovered silently. The commander stared down at the planet, pale and tense. His perfect fleet had been shattered. Tanks had been destroyed or toppled. Dropships had crashed. Soldiers had surrendered. The humans had done something impossible. They had used their world itself as a weapon. And for the first time, the alien commander felt gout.
"They are not like any species we have faced,"
he muttered. "They are clever, patient, and fearless, and they fight with their home itself." Alien reinforcements tried to land, but the planetary anchors controlled by the humans made it nearly impossible. Dropships tilted in the air, losing balance. Tanks that tried to float were pulled down by invisible forces. Energy beams misfired.
Machines collided. Chaos spread faster than the alien commanders could manage.
Every attempt to regain control failed. On the plains, humans began to move cautiously among the wreckage. Civilians and soldiers worked together to gather supplies, tend to the wounded, and secure the battlefield. The sight of alien machines destroyed and soldiers surrendering gave them hope. It was proof that one world, one people, could stand against a seemingly unstoppable empire. Mark looked at the horizon. The sun reflected off twisted metal, and dust rose in slow clouds. He knew the humans had won the battle, but the war in the galaxy was far from over. Other empires and fleets were watching. They had witnessed what humans could do. The empire that had attacked Haven was only the first to experience it. "Prepare for any sign of reinforcements," Lena said. "The system can hold, but we must be ready." Mark nodded. The vehicle's treads pressed deeper into the earth, reinforcing their control over the battlefield. The humans had learned a vital lesson. Patience and understanding could defeat technology that relied solely on power. They had studied gravity, mastered it, and used it as a weapon. Their world had fought for them, and they had guided it with intelligence. Above, the alien commander realized the full scope of his failure. His soldiers were defeated, his tanks destroyed, and his fleet in orbit crippled. He understood now that humans did not need to match their technology to win. They used something no one else could: their knowledge, their courage, and their connection to their home world. The remaining alien soldiers on the surface surrendered quietly. Some crawled from wrecked tanks. Others raised hands, unable to comprehend their defeat. The humans did not attack them further. They had proven their point. The Empire had been humbled. The battlefield belonged to Haven. In the city, civilians celebrated quietly. Soldiers joined them, proud and tired. Engineers monitored the system, keeping the anchor stable but ready to adjust if necessary. The humans had survived. They had won. They had shown the galaxy that intelligence, courage, and understanding could overcome even the most advanced technology. Mark guided the vehicle back toward the city. Every movement reinforced control over the plains. Dust rose in clouds. Broken tanks and scattered weapons littered the battlefield. The humans had turned their home into a weapon, and the aliens had learned that no amount of floating technology or advanced weapons could overcome determination and mastery of one's own world. The alien commander finally spoke to his officers. This species, they are dangerous. They fight with more than weapons. They fight with knowledge and courage. And we have underestimated them. Never again. Mark looked across the plains, seeing the remains of the Empire's army. Broken machines, surrendered soldiers, and the scars of battle were everywhere. But humans were alive, strong, and victorious. They had not only defended Haven, they had proven that one world could stand against a galaxy-spanning empire.
Lena's voice came through the communicator. The anchors are stable.
The field can remain as long as needed. The humans control the battlefield completely.
Mark nodded. He knew they had achieved something extraordinary. The humans had taken what was ordinary, their connection to the ground beneath them, and turned it into an unstoppable weapon. The Empire had come with superior technology, but humans had used patience, intelligence, and understanding to triumph. Civilians stepped cautiously onto the plains, witnessing the destruction and the victory. Soldiers who had been part of the battle stood tall, proud of what they had accomplished. The humans had changed the course of this war. They had sent a message to the galaxy: do not underestimate them. Above, the alien fleet began to retreat. Some ships rose carefully into orbit, damaged but still functioning. The Empire had been humbled. Their perfect machines could not defeat humans who understood their planet, their world, and themselves. Mark guided the vehicle toward the central command post. The battlefield was secure. Survivors among the aliens were taken as prisoners. Civilians and soldiers began to repair what they could. The humans had shown courage, skill, and intelligence. The Empire had learned that one small world could not be ignored. Lena monitored the final readings. The system remained stable. Energy flowed evenly through all anchors. The humans had controlled the battlefield from the plains to orbit. They had defeated the alien empire without firing a single destructive weapon from above. They had fought with their world, and the world had fought with them. The sun set slowly over the plains of Haven. Dust swirled in the golden light. Broken tanks and destroyed dropships were scattered across the battlefield. Humans walked among them. Proud, but careful. They had survived. They had won. They had shown that courage, intelligence, and understanding could defeat the most advanced technology. Mark and Lena exchanged quiet words through the communicator.
"We did it," Lena said softly. "Yes,
Mark replied.
But this is only the beginning. The galaxy is watching. They will never forget this day. The humans had proven themselves. The Empire had learned that technology alone was not enough. Courage, intelligence, patience, and understanding of one's homeworld were weapons stronger than any machine. The plains of Haven were quiet, but the galaxy now knew the humans were powerful, clever, and unyielding. The battle had ended, but the war for respect in the stars had only begun. The humans of Haven had survived, defeated the Empire, and sent a message that would echo across worlds. They were not to be underestimated. Their planet had fought for them, and they had guided it to victory. Mark looked toward the horizon, the remains of the alien fleet disappearing into space. Lena kept monitoring the anchors, ensuring stability. The humans had survived the impossible. They had won, and the galaxy would never forget it. The humans had turned their home into a weapon, had defended their world, and had proven that one world, one people, could stand against the most advanced empire in the galaxy. And they knew that the lessons of this battle would prepare them for the wars yet to come. Haven was safe. For now. The humans had won, and the Empire had learned that courage, intelligence, and understanding could defeat even the most powerful machines. The plains were theirs. The sky was theirs. The galaxy had seen what humans could do, and the humans were ready for whatever came next.